Well, hi!
Hey!
Welcome back to a very off-brand episode of Hot Apocalypse. I'm Andy.
I'm Josh, and I study global warming. I'm a climate scientist.
And I'm Andy. I'm a comic. I study boner jokes. And
he's an expert in that, too.
I host this show with Josh where we talk about how terrible things are. But this week...
we have some good news.
We got great news.
Yeah.
We're here to celebrate the Green New Deal. To do that, we're going to share a drink
right.
of the only good LaCroix, which is the green one.
Right. It's green, so probably it looks like the earth behind us.
In a way, we're all drinking the earth, huh? We have two super awesome guests that we're very excited about this week. Last week, we talked to Alexandra, who helped us understand Venezuela. Today, we're very lucky to be with a very notable activist that I'm a little intimidated by because she's super awesome. Varshini Prakash is going to be with us talking about her activism and how she helped make this Green New Deal a reality. I don't think I'm overstating when I say that.
No, it's really cool.
And we're also going to be talking with Brad Johnson, also known as Climate Brad, the founder of Climate Hawks Vote, who's going to help us understand some of the things that happened in the State of the Union address.
Climate Brad.
Climate Brad. I'm Climate Andy with boner jokes. But together,
we're Hot Apocalypse.
He's a comic who's chronically depressed and thinks we're doomed. He's a renowned climate scientist who crunched the numbers and knows we're doomed. Together, they're hoping to have a good time till it's over and tell you, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die.
Catchy bits. It's a catchy little bitty.
Hot Apocalypse.
It's Josh and I dancing. So, we're way off brand this week.
Yeah.
Because this is a show about gloom and doom and disaster, and we just can't get our stuff together this week because we got good news.
Right. There's a Green New Deal maybe in the works being thought about, hopefully.
I understand what little I've read of it to understand, but we have somebody who really gets it and really gets climate and activism in her bones and is here to help us learn. Varshini Prakash, all the way from Massachusetts, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. We're super excited to talk to you. So tell us a little bit, what is this Green New Deal that we keep hearing about?
Sure, so the Green New Deal, we saw some pretty a landmark resolution drop just yesterday, co-sponsored by Senator Markey in the Senate and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the House. And basically what this is a short resolution, a vision-setting document for a 10-year plan to mobilize virtually every aspect of our society and our economy to move to an 100% clean and renewable future. To guarantee a job for every person in this country who wants or needs one, and to ensure that racial and economic equity and a just transition for workers is included as a core component of any plan to tackle the climate crisis. So it is a wildly ambitious, but really grounded for the first time in, I think, American history, a document that is actually grounded in the science put forward by the IPCC that came out last fall, that I'm sure you all talked about a ton. And we are seeing that this is the first proposal that really puts forward a plan to tackle both the crisis in our climate and also the crisis of skyrocketing and nauseating wealth inequality as well.
So that's incredible. I mean, typically when we've thought about addressing climate change, using policy to address climate change, we tend to think of it as an issue all by itself. But this is sort of a new take on it, right? It's packaging together a lot of social issues and climate issues. Tell us about the kind of motivation for that.
Yeah, well, part of it was seeing how people had talked about it in isolation for decades and looking up around us and saying, that's not working so well, is it? So we started to actually think about how can we actually merge the climate crisis and the issue that we're facing with the climate crisis with, am I still here? I'm only
Yes, you're
human.
still here. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
We were
Never
shuffling
mind.
a little bit, but we were wrapped. Please
No problem.
continue.
Okay, just making sure. So how do we actually make the climate crisis relate to people's everyday lives? We're talking about the creation of tens of millions of good, high-paying jobs. We're talking about tackling pollution, toxic air, poisoned water, soil contamination that has been happening for millennia, that has eroded our ecological health and is careening us towards this ecological and humanitarian crisis. And so we really see this as a way to not own that the climate crisis is inextricably linked to issues of racial inequity and economic inequity as well.
I mean, in a way, it's sort of like the climate crisis was created by the rich and the results are being borne out by the poor.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the history of climate denialism in this country, right? We saw starting in the 1970s that groups like ExxonMobil had some of the best climate science around. And then as soon as they realized that it was going to hurt their bottom line, the wealthiest industry in the history of this planet, they embarked upon a massive disinformation and a campaign to buy out the loyalty of politicians of both political parties to do their bidding and stymie progress on climate. And that is why in 2019, we have yet to see any kind of comprehensive federal policy that targets the climate crisis. And so we're really trying to combat the way in which these fossil fuel executives and the lobbyists who work for them have halted progress on the issue and then forced the majority of the human population, particularly the working class and the global south, to bear the burden of their actions to protect their own profits.
Varshini, that's so well stated. And with Sunrise Movement, you've really been sort of at the heart of a lot of this activism. Your organization has been so involved with pushing this agenda, and it's like we're starting to finally see the big ideas to take on this big problem that are so exciting. And one thing that keeps coming into mind when I hear this is the idea of intersectionality. That's a movement, a word that's thrown a lot in the sort of the social justice movement, and this is sort of a part of social justice and environment. Could you talk about all about intersectionality and what that might in this context?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we think about like some of the things that are actually entailed in a Green New Deal, essentially like protecting our earth and our people and protecting human civilization as we know it for generations to come, these are concepts and ideas that indigenous communities have been talking about forever, and they have been leading some of the fight around protecting our water from pipelines like the Keystone XL pipeline and DAPL, as we saw play out in the last few years. We've been seeing communities on the front lines of crisis, Black and brown communities in Flint, Michigan, who have been faced with lead-poisoned waters, and children who are suffering the ramifications of our government's negligence on this front. There's so much more how communities of color are often the ones who bear the brunt of the pollution from fossil fuel combustion. And from our frankly, completely outdated infrastructure system. So we really are, there is no way to tackle the climate crisis without going through racial and economic justice. There is no way. We have tried it before and it has not succeeded. And we are here to say to the Democratic Party that this is a winning strategy. It's a popular strategy. It's actually even there's bipartisan support for many of the concepts laid out in a Green New Deal. And this is what it's going to take to actually revitalize our economy and truly build an America that works for all of us.
Andy's getting excited.
I love it.
It's really exciting.
It is
I mean,
really
it's
exciting.
Unprecedented, like 67 co-sponsors in the House out the gate, 10 or 12 co-sponsors in the Senate, 5 of whom are presidential candidates. Like this, we sat in Nancy Pelosi's office on November 13th, and from that moment, we have seen thousands of people visiting their congressional office, visiting Congresspeople's offices, sending letters, tweets, letters to the editor, to local newspapers. We are seeing dozens of politicians who we never thought would be interested in something like this getting on board. And I am just blown away by what we've been able to do in just a few months, because a bunch of kids and a very courageous, morally guided politician had the guts to call for what is necessary in this moment.
It is fantastic. Yeah. It is fantastic. You've been such a big part of this. And by the way, as a guest, I feel like we're going to ask you to come on again and again, because this is such a wealth of great information.
Great. I'm happy to be here.
But if we could just, at least just one more question here for you. Can you talk a little bit about that dynamic with the Democratic leadership, with Pelosi? How is that working out?
Hey, I mean, we're going to go and push every Democrat in the caucus, every politician really in Congress, to support this resolution by Ocasio-Cortez and Markey. We're feeling excited that the Select Committee for the Climate Crisis that Nancy Pelosi created actually includes many of the original supporters of the Select Committee for the Green New Deal that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez proposed as a rep-elect. I'm feeling particularly excited because last Tuesday, over 5,000 plus people tuned in to our unveiling of a national grassroots distributed campaign for a Green New Deal. And now 650 office visits have been planned for the first half of next week. And we are hitting 41 states in 3 days to talk to Congress people in as many districts in America as possible to ensure that they back this resolution. So the difference between, Waxman Markey in 2009, the difference now is that there is quite literally an army of young people out in the streets and who are going to be voting on this issue and ensuring that it remains a top political priority through 2020.
I'll tell you what, Varshini, we salute you.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great. There really is a youth-driven movement to really change things right now, and I would say that Varshini is sort of at the tip of the spear, to use an overused military analogy. It's completely inappropriate in this context. Varshini, you are awesome. We really love what you're doing. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
This is super helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And it is not gloom and doom out there. There is a ton of hope. So if you're watching this, go to sunrisemovement.org, join the Army. We are more than excited to have you.
That's sunrisemovement.org.
There you go.
All right, everybody head there. Varshini, thank you so much. Keep up the good fight, and we'll check in with you from time to time if that's cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, have me on. I'd love to be here.
All right.
Cool.
It feels so weird being this cheerful here.
I know. It's a little disconcerting. I feel like we need some bad news again.
Oh.
Right.
Well, I'll bet we can pull that off. And just we've got Brad coming up. He's going to help walk us through some of these details from the State of the Union and some of these climate specifics.
Oh, but I forgot. We have one more bit of good news.
Holy cow!
Right?
What is it?
Yeah, that's right. China. Right?
Holy cow. Josh got very excited about this for good reason.
Right. Everybody, whenever you're like, oh, global warming's happening, and you're talking to somebody who's kind of in denial or just doesn't think we should do anything about it, very often they say, oh, well, it doesn't matter what we do because China is going to ruin the environment
China,
anyway, right?
They're going to screw it all up, right? Yeah.
But this year, just recently, now this isn't brand new news, but it happened earlier this month, earlier this year. China decided that they're going to spend $1/3 trillion on renewable energy in the next 10 years.
$1/3 trillion. Right. By my math, that is over $1 million.
Yes.
That they're going to spend.
Significantly more than $1 million.
That's really exciting. And so that seems like the sort of thing that that can develop a marketplace, an economy.
It can, in fact, and what they've already spent is already developing the marketplace. I think last year China became the largest producer of solar energy. So actually, they're kind of ahead of us in a way.
I'm going to have to drink a lot more booze with my antidepressants in order to feel bad about all this, because there's a lot of good news coming our way, guys. This is a very exciting week. And another exciting thing about all this, Josh, we finally got a sponsor.
We have a sponsor?
Oh, man, you do a video cast about an important topic. You hope that corporate America will catch up and start advertising with us. Please, let's check out these good guys in
wait.
corporate America. Are we moving forward? Are we making progress?
The next generation isn't going to want to hear our excuses.
Well, I would say, every choice we make affects the environment, and I feel like they have to be aware of that.
I think we can make offshore drilling safe.
We need to look at all of our options. Wind, solar.
Are our fossil fuels as clean as possible? Is our oil as clean as possible? Is our coal as clean as possible? I think they're doing a great job. Oh, wow. A little message from the partisans in the Second City. Thanks for Second City for giving us permission to use that clip. Handsome devil at the end. Wow.
I know.
He had better hair back then. So that is, of course, about sort of the problems that corporate America has when they try and greenwash the things that they're involved in with the environment. We also wound up in a little bit of, I don't know if it'd be greenwashing, but certainly trying to put lipstick on a pig at the State of the Union this week.
Yeah, and we have a guest. I think we have a guest. Brad, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Brad is here. Brad is here, but only I can hear Brad right now.
Okay, I don't have my. But sorry, Brad, we're suffering through some tech here, but we see you and can get you.
Yes. Hey, Brad, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, awesome. You probably won't hear Andy. Well, maybe you'll hear Andy, but Andy won't hear you.
I can hear
I
Andy.
say stupid shit anyway.
Yes.
I hear him. You guys can't hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. So we're on with Brad Johnson, also known as
Climate Brad.
Climate Brad.
From Climate Hawks Vote, and Brad is a tireless activist on these issues. And we've been meaning to get Brad on in some capacity or another, and the perfect opportunity arose this week when he was tweeting about that list that our president went through at the end of the State of the Union. Brad, can you talk a little bit about what inspired you?
Well, during the State of the Union, one thing that a bunch of reporters talked about was how, Donald Trump didn't talk about global warming at all. And I pointed out that that was pretty much the only thing that was in his speech, really. One thing was he touted how great it is that the United States is producing like more oil than ever, which is really something that Obama should get credit for more than Trump. But I guess we can consider it a bipartisan accomplishment. And the other thing that he talked about at the end is he had a little kind of, Walt Whitman-esque stretch, probably plagiarized from somebody, about the beautiful parts of all the different beautiful parts of the United States. It had a kind of real, kind of Pete Seeger feel. And if you just go through the list of the places he named, which was, here's the phrase. He talked about legislators from across this magnificent republic, the rocky shores of Maine and the volcanic peaks of Hawaii. I don't think he pronounced it like that. From the snowy woods of Wisconsin and the red deserts of Arizona, from the green farms of Kentucky and the golden beaches of California. And the fun thing is that you can just go down to all of those places and see all of the ways that they're getting screwed by climate pollution already, and how bad it is for all of those places in the future. And you don't have to go to some kind of advocate. You can go to the report that the Trump administration put out. I mean, they tried to bury it by having it come out the day after Thanksgiving, and so it turned out that it was actually a bad idea, because then there wasn't really any other news. So it was one of the few times that you actually saw corporate media talking about global warming. And not that that's a bugbear of mine, but in that report, which was produced by basically every single agency working in collaboration in the federal government, they go into really just remarkable detail on what the science of what's going on across the country with global warming is. And that's the National Climate Assessment is what it's called.
The National Climate Assessment. I said that like I'm drunk. Hey, Brad, so
that's a good
the
idea.
Message here is that there's the issues around climate are just global. they're local, that these are going to be as affecting everybody in the United States on some level as we go here. There's just no getting away from it.
And like actually to kind of more fine point, it's not that it's going to be affecting, it's that it already has been for the last several decades.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're looking at like the rocky shores of Maine, where the fisheries are collapsing and the sea level is rising at an ever faster rate, or the snowy woods of Wisconsin, which are losing both the woods and the snow.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
No, I mean, it is like if it wasn't our only planet and we weren't a species on it, it would be very funny.
We would be pulling a massive, hilarious prank on ourselves if we had some alternative to go to after this.
Yeah.
As it is, it's depressing.
This is like an epic self prank.
Brad, what a great rundown. That's terrific.
That was awesome.
And Brad, this sort of granular look at what our politicians are saying versus what is actually happening, I think is so helpful because the rhetoric just spills out on our television so often. And when it's written in this sort of quasi-lyrical Stephen Miller, I've only read one novel and this is how I write speeches now sort of style, I think it's important to have a knowledgeable fact checker like yourself saying like, wait a second, here's the actual case. Yeah,
you're doing an incredible service for everyone, Brad.
And thank you, Brad. We want to have Brad on again as well. Brad, we're going to look to you, if that's cool, to help explain some stuff down the line in future episodes, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, come back, Brad.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, happy to.
And if we want to find you online, where do people go to find Climate Brad?
Climate Brad on Twitter is the kind of the best place. I also do some posting at hillheat.com.
Great. Brad, thank you so much. We're going to talk to Brad again very soon, and we'll see you from sea to shining sea, Brad.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Varshini. What great guests we had today. We've still got to get through the reasons why we're all screwed this week. Which will be very sad and very depressing. And then we're going to come back with some climate FOMO, some good news.
Yeah, because we don't want to leave you depressed like we are kind of all the time.
That's why there's Zoloft. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some audience questions as well. We are working to incorporate this more and more in our format. If you have a question, a comment, there are knowledgeable people and ridiculous people who can speak to them. Please feel free to leave us comments and questions on the Facebook page on Being Liberal. We will get to them, if not during the show, afterwards. We will do our best.
We had a great one from a day ago.
Oh, let's see.
Robert said, have these guys actually flown over the Arctic Ocean from the North American shore to the Asian shore themselves once or twice to take a look, or do they just soak up all the propaganda? Excellent question, Robert. Actually, yes, I have flown over the Arctic a number of times, and I've seen with my own eyes the ice that's disappearing there and the ice that's disappearing in Greenland, because I actually study global warming for NASA. So yeah, I fly around in planes. I don't speak for NASA, though.
I speak for the USDA for some reason. I don't know why they let me do that.
It's strange that they would let that happen. Yeah.
Otherwise, I speak for no one. So if you're looking, and I think that's actually a reasonable question that a troll asked, is what is your level of expertise? Josh has actually seen these things with his own eyes as well as using the tools of data collection. And I am a mess and am on Reddit a lot. So it's somewhere.
It's very close. It's very close.
So ladies and gentlemen, the bad news is we're all going to die. Here's some reasons why we're all going to die. And we play the intro.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die.
Hot-pocalypse. That's our very dreary intro to this segment.
I know, I love it. It really puts me in the mood to talk about reasons we're all going to die.
Reasons why we're all going to die. And we've got a bunch this week, as usual. What's top on your mind this week, Josh?
Well, it's a new year. We're kind of starting out a new year. It's 2019. So it's time to look back at the old years. And retrospective, that's right. And NASA and NOAA released their assessment for the climate of the year.
And it was really
2018. 2018 was the fourth hottest year on record. So you're like, oh, fourth. We only came in fourth, right?
Yeah, right. Even better.
But actually, if you look at all the years for the last decade, all of the last 5 years have been in the 5 hottest years.
Wow.
So the planet's warming, and my informal prediction is that 2019 will probably be at the top of this list.
I make the same prediction. I base mine on being sad a lot. What are you basing yours on?
Data.
Reams of data.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a very valid reason why we're all going to die. But Josh, if I weren't concerned about global issues, say, and I'm more focused on, say, what I'm going to have for lunch, like a real granular issue, why would I care about global warming?
Well, it turns out that if you eat lettuce, that was a brilliant segue.
I mean,
Andy.
come on.
Were you just waiting the whole time for that
I'm
one?
a video professional. I could.
That was brilliant. That was
Segway
brilliant.
City.
If you're gonna have lettuce on your sandwich,
I love lettuce on my sandwich.
or maybe you're gonna have a salad, eat some kale, have a smoothie.
Once a month, whether I need it or not.
Right.
Yes.
Lettuce actually may be beginning to suffer from climate change, just like the rest of us.
What?
Yeah, lettuce. Yeah. So there's some newer studies actually. The FDA. We've had all these outbreaks of E. coli.
I'm against that, by the way.
I know we don't want the E. coli, but there's some new research that's starting to suggest that lettuce might become more susceptible to E. coli seeding in extreme weather events. And of course, with global warming, we're going to get more extreme weather events. So really high heat, really big rainfall, and it's actually has the potential to start threatening the lettuce crops.
Okay. The E. coli thing is particularly threatening to me right now. I'm a new father, so I'm dealing with a lot of poo right now. That's a big part of my life is poo. And that's a nightmare poo situation.
It's a poop train, and you're on it, Andy.
E. coli. Yeah. So that's bad. But Josh, I want to get away for our third reason why we're all going to die this week. I want to get away from the climate just for a second.
Okay.
And talk about a different kind of winter, nuclear winter.
Wow.
Yeah, the threat of a faster immolation and destruction of the entire Earth than the one we're talking about with the climate, and that's nuclear destruction. And we got a little closer to that this week when our genius administration decided to step out of the INF Treaty, and the treaty that has really kept a lot of Western Europe safe from a very specific kind of threat from intermediate range missiles for decades now. And we're just kind of getting rid of it. And right after that happened, I think this has been undercovered in the news on this. Right after that happened, Russia, the United States, and France all did some very saber-rattly tests of missiles that were very public and clearly meant to send a message. That really hasn't gotten out, though. These missiles are actually flying, given without warheads, right now through the airspace because of this decision. I'm against it.
Wow. It's like they were just waiting to pop all those off.
You know, it's funny you should say pop all that off, because I can't think of a more phallic representation of toxic masculinity than sending these giant dicks into the air as a saber rattling, as it were. Sometimes a saber is just a saber.
At least one of them was French, so that was the laid-back missile.
That was the chill one.
Yes.
It looked its best in the air. I think for our fourth reason why we're all going to die this week, we're looking at a Washington Post article, which was actually really good. It's called "Everything is Not Going to Be Okay: How to Live with Constant Reminders that the Earth is in Trouble." And when I saw this,
it's like they've been watching the show, Andy. Right?
You think they're fans?
Maybe they are.
Oh, hi, WAPO.
Hey.
Good work.
I subscribe.
I should.
Want you to know.
I get past your firewall. So Washington Post, I was prepared for this to be the usual pablum that you sometimes see of like how to cope with your feelings about climate and how to not worry about it.
Right.
This was a little bit more direct to say you need to accept, we need to accept that things aren't going to be okay in the future. Climate is careening towards disaster. The way to cope with it isn't to pretend that it's not going to be. It's to accept that it is not going to be okay, and then move according to that.
Well, just embrace the hot apocalypse.
Embrace the hot apocalypse. It's like they read Armada.
I know. So cool.
Surely we'll be getting a check from WAPO.
I think I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I should subscribe someday.
There's got to be another reason we're all going to die.
There is one more. We have one more reason this week why we're all going to die, and this one, it's a trick one.
It's a trick?
Yeah, this one kind of zigs and then zags. So the reason, this is actually a very clever meme, that it's about...
yeah, Andy, you sent me this meme. I didn't understand it at all.
Oh, good.
I just want to tell you that.
I perplexed a
You
NASA
did.
scientist.
I was baffled. I was baffled.
This is the fulfillment of a dream. So this is about a gentleman named Bolsonaro, who is the new leader of Brazil, and he's a terrible man. And so he, one of the reasons why he's tied into this show is that he is threatening to destroy a lot of rainforest in the name of corporate development and industrial development. And that, of course, would affect the whole planet in disastrous ways.
Please don't do that.
Don't do that. If you're watching Mr. Bolsonaro, we don't like you.
Hang on. Yeah, just wait a while. Just give it a rest. Yeah.
And so the bad news this week is that he is in the hospital with a critical case of pneumonia. Of course, here at Apocalypse, we are humanists and would never wish a human being ill. And yet.
Well,
he might suffer and die. And if that happens,
maybe the rainforest will be...
Maybe the rainforest will be okay.
Okay.
So we have no influence over these events, but we're here to toast them. I love drinking the green glass.
What happened to the? Drink. I gotta ask though, what happened to the small child in the meme?
She is now surrounded by padded doorknobs wherever she goes. So she's in a much better place.
That's good. That's good.
Brazil.
You've got to save the small child who bumps her head on the doorknob.
Yeah. Now, Josh, let's close out the show. We're getting towards the end of the show where we try and present some good news about the climate,
yes.
which we started out the show
with.
We did.
It's been overall, it's been a very happy broadcast, I think.
I think not drinking booze during the broadcast might
perhaps
contribute to
it could help, right?
Depressant.
We'll save it for later.
Yeah. But we've got a little bit of climate FOMO.
FOMO.
And Josh, you're a scientist. You probably know what FOMO means.
Fear.
Of missing out.
That's it.
You're missing out.
Yes.
Oh, these scientists, they're not good,
Sorry.
Good with research. That's the problem.
I could Google it.
Yeah, absolutely. So FOMO, climate FOMO, things that are potentially really good that are happening in the climate around the world that we wish were happening right here.
Andy, save the day, please.
Oh my goodness. This first one is one that I'm very excited about. This a magazine I found, a publication called Jacobin, is it's sort of a lefty rag, shall we say? Ooh, but their editorial board has just come out with sort of a new proposal that I think is really bold and smart, and the sort of Overton window moving that the Green New Deal represents is also replicated in this. It's time to try fossil fuel executives for crimes against humanity. Wouldn't it be great to see Rex Tillerson frog marched? The NASA guy might not be able to say that, but I can.
When in doubt, put some rich people in jail.
Oh, I'm for it. I'm for it. So this is a new proposal, and it probably isn't going to happen next week. But this is the sort of Overton window moving. We'll be hearing that phrase a lot in the next few years, I think. But the sort of way to open up a new set of dialogues around an issue in a way that expands the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at our history, and in the United States, there are periods where we were like into electric cars, right? And into renewables, and then often we would be kind of steered back by misinformation or incorrect stuff, and so in a very real way, maybe these guys are really guilty.
Wow. He doesn't speak for NASA, but he speaks from my heart.
That's right.
So let's move on. We've got another bit of good news. This is sort of interesting. We're always sort of ambivalent, I think, about the role of capitalism in either solving or addressing climate-based issues. But this is kind of an interesting one, I think. Plant-based burger battle heats up as culinary rivals roll out new products. So there is a battle for our stomachs, which we want Team Plant to win.
Yeah, I mean, fake burger is going to be king, right?
Yeah, we want it to be king. And I say this as a guy from Indiana who grew up, I eat meat with every meal. I am not I'm not proud of that, but it's a thing. But suckers like me need to be tempted into new habits.
Right.
And I think this battle between two prominent burger companies, we'll let them make their own plug for each other, but two prominent makers of vegetarian burgers are fighting out for the winner of the taste test. And have you tried these? Have you tried them?
I haven't yet, but I hear that they are magical.
Impossible?
Yeah.
Yes, they are very good replicants of the meat eating experience, which, again, I'm embarrassed that that's necessary for me. But
Yeah, well, you know, right?
You're from Texas.
I am. I grew up in the South. We ate meat every meal, and you know, I haven't cut out. I've tried to reduce my meat consumption, but there it is. It's hard to be total vegetarian.
They sell beef jerky right in the checkout lane. It's not fair. So anyway, if we can change consumer habits, perhaps that is a way to modify our rush towards doom.
Yeah.
And our last one is Australia, right?
Yes, Australia.
Man, Australia, I'll tell you, just when I think Australia I've got it figured out. I always think it's a land of rednecks being eaten by sharks while they're drunk. But it's more than that.
It is. Australia is apparently on track to meet the Paris climate agreements.
So their obligations under Paris Accords, which are specific to each country, they have made some agreements to meet some fossil fuel weeding out and some development of renewables, and they're kicking butt.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of neat. You know, when you see these countries really focus and commit resources and work hard towards addressing climate change, turns out, hey, they can do way more than they thought they could.
Yeah, and,
right?
and you know, I've heard that's what a good point, Josh. And I've heard Australia described so often as being I've heard it as a Texan, you'll appreciate this, described as Texas with weirder accents.
Oh, that's offensive to someone, but I don't know.
So
who.
I'm not sure who. Aborigines? I don't know.
Maybe.
But all the fossil fuel resources they have there, plus all the rednecks that they have there, has created a perception that Australia is going to be very backward. Perhaps they're beating that.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a little sometimes.
But maybe that's just what we need.
Yeah.
It's like Vegemite. A little goes a very long way.
Yes. You guys can just keep all that stuff.
Yeah, minute
Vegemite.
work, we're done with you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up our climate FOMO for the week.
Wow. We did it, Andy.
Gosh.
I think we did it.
This has been an outstanding episode, I feel, because we got to talk to Varshini Prakash.
I know. So many fun guests.
She was awesome, and we're going to talk to her more and more.
Yes, definitely.
We got to talk to Brad Johnson.
Brad Johnson. Yeah.
Very informative on the President's State of the Union and how these areas are being specifically impacted.
Yeah, I'm so glad that these folks are out there doing good. Do-gooders.
You know, it's weird you should mention that, Josh, because you're about to jet off to another exotic locale.
I am. I'm going to be in Greenland next week to work with some colleagues, and it happens that I'm going to be there on the first ever Greenland National Climate Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So you'll be doing climate-y things with
Yes.
climate scientists, and it will be on National Climate Day?
That's right, on Greenland National Climate Day.
Holy crap, Olaf. So Josh will be Skyping in next week.
Yes, look for me in the little box.
And we'll probably have some guests as well. But Josh can help us understand what's going on in Greenland, his very important research there, and just the way those developments are going to affect us.
Yeah, of course, Greenland has enough ice in it to raise sea levels globally by 25 feet if it all melted today. So
it's a lot.
It's a lot. And what happens in Greenland, it doesn't stay in Greenland. It hits coasts all around the world, California, Australia, Southeast Asia. Everywhere is affected. Everywhere with a coastline is affected when Greenland loses ice.
You know, here's a little bit of science that you probably don't know. This is a little mnemonic trick to help you. Greenland is very icy, whereas Iceland is very green.
Greeny.
You want to write that down? Is that useful to you?
It is,
All
yeah.
right, I'll text it to you later.
Yeah, please.
I'm Andy Cobb.
I'm Josh Willis.
And together, we are Hot Pocalypse. We're going to be here every week We're on Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo,
Twitter, I think.
Twitter,
Yeah.
SoundCloud. We're SoundCloud rappers now.
Yeah, I'm glad I just remembered one of those. So.
Oh no, it was excellent. It was a good one. And we're going to be on Twitch soon playing video games. I don't know, probably. But we really appreciate you being here. We really appreciate your questions, your comments. We haven't got to. We only got to one this week.
I know. Maybe we'll get to some more next time.
And we do try and go through afterwards and address questions and comments, and those are really important to us.
Yeah.
Starting next week, we're really going to try and make those more of an integrated part of the show.
Yes. Keep talking to us. Keep sending us your thoughts, and we'll send you ours.
Yeah. Look, we promise a much more depressing show next week.
Yeah, it's gonna be really sad.
We let you down with all our pumping you up this week, but Green New Deal, applause to everyone involved, and applause specifically to Varshini Prakash, who was really involved in making that happen.
Absolutely, a hero.
Like you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.